spring. You hit here and it becomes spring. Here they also have a wordplay game too. But I'm not. I just play pool.
She's being treated for thyroid cancer.
Who?
Pam Bondi, the one he fired.
Oh. Why mà Donald Trump fire?
So who might be next to testify? Democrats in the Oversight Committee say they have questions for acting Attorney General Todd Blanchard. Professor Emeritus at Harvard Law School, Alan Dershowitz joins me. Nice to talk to you, sir. And for the life of me, I don't know why we're still going on with anything. But your thoughts on this?
Well, because they don't want to get to the truth. If they wanted to get to the truth, they would call people like me. I indicated a willingness to testify without invoking any privileges, without claiming any reason not to answer. I know the truth about what happened between, say, 2000 and 2010, and I know how overblown all this is. There are four categories of people who have claimed to be victims.
Oh, you're.
Those who were underage that really were victimized. And then the 25-year-olds who kept coming back over and over again for $250
Why isn't he in New York? Why isn't he in New York
Oh.
for the parade?
And got younger women to come in and were paid for bringing in. And then there's the fourth category of women who never looked at Pepsi.
Where
And
is
their sleazy lawyers got them to file perjury
The Israel
saying
parade.
that they had given Epstein a massage and they got $50,000.
That's today, right? The one the communist isn't going to.
Right. Israel Day.
Yeah.
But this was tape, last week.
Well, I'm actually sympathetic to Pam Bondi. Admittedly, she is a friend, but she had 30 days to go through a tractor trailer full of documents with thousands of
Good.
and all our CDs and everything else, and then pulling everybody off other investigations. She has no time signed Todd Blanchard to oversee it, but it was an absolutely impossible task to begin with. But what I thought, have you picked up the phone and called Comer and said, "Hi, I'm Alan Dershowitz. I know a lot. I should testify."
I said it on television over and over and over again. I don't have a relationship with him, but he wants to talk to me. I'm happy to talk to him, either in private or public. I've never withheld any information, and I know a great deal about this. But they don't want to know the truth. That's the problem. They just don't want to know.
What do they want? What do they want then? What is the point then? What do they want? What is everybody seeking?
Political benefits.
Oh, no.
People, congressmen, just lying through their teeth about what happened here, and they're unwilling to find out the real truth. And I asked directly, do you know anything about Donald Trump? Do you know anything about Bill Clinton? Do you know anything about famous people? If you do, tell me. I'll get you a better deal. And he was very motivated to obviously give me you work for yourself, you work for CIA. And he said no. And that hurt him and contributed to him getting an 18-month sentence. He probably would have gotten no sentence at all if he had been able to turn in other people. You don't want to put a criminal at Harvard. If you're a criminal, it's always commit crimes with somebody more important than you are, rather than somebody less important, because you can turn them in. And if Epstein had anything on important people, he would have given it to me, and I would have given it to the government. But this is all completely overblown and designed just to get political attention. And so much attention is being paid to this. There's a big debate now about whether Joe Biden's testimony videotape should be allowed out. If he had said a word about Jeffrey Epstein, they would have him all over the place. They're willing to protect the president of the United States from having his testimony be revealed, but then they're perfectly happy to produce phone calls. Let me give you one example. Among the things they produced is a statement by an anonymous woman. Her name is not given, it's redacted. It says she's an adult. She's 30, 35 years old. And what she says is that she had sex with Donald Trump and that she bit Donald Trump's penis. Now, that's a clear lie, but they protect her so they gain Donald Trump. All throughout these revelations, they protect the name of lying witnesses.
I cook and hot and eat soup and hot.
But how does that help the Republican Party? They're the majority party in the House. They're the ones calling the hearings. How does it help them that their president gets that? And I don't see the political advantage.
Well, there's no political advantage to the party. There's political advantage to individual congressmen who get a lot of attention and are seen by the public as protecting victims. But many of the victims are not real victims. Many of the victims are perpetrators and perjurers and conspirators and co-defendants. So I would love someday for this to come out. And it's much greater, not just black and white, as I think the members of Congress, for their own purposes, would like to present. Someday the whole truth will come out, but not while these politicians are determining who is called and who is not called.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get all the Comer next week and tell me you want to testify because maybe not watch this show. Anyway, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You've been telling me everything about my life. So if you were looking for
They made him put a screen up behind him, so you couldn't see what a mess's apartment's in. Her house.
Every crazy night together. I've lost 182 pounds since I've been married to the best of living the life that was supposed to live.
Get that family building and the new home pill at the lowest cost with Overgap Insurance at joinmymd.com. Helping aging support starts here with the innovative nitric oxide science priming your body and supporting your body from the heart out through circulation, blood flow, and blood pressure. Results you can feel, symptoms you can trust. Visit today.
Ui,
Don't kill you at all.
Hey, Dr. Marty. Pretty bad. What's wrong with this? It's good stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still killable. Means it's ultra processed at extremely high temperatures and destroy the nutrients in food. Dr. Marty will gently freeze by treating leaves, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibble.
You got it, kids, and they're gonna love it.
When we started believing, we were shocked to learn how many American flags are actually made overseas.
If there's one thing that deserves to be made here in America, it should start with the American flag. At Allegiance, we do it differently. Flags 100% made in America by Americans with American materials. Join our pledge to make the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get a high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
I'm Guy Fieri. I'm asking for your help in supporting the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as it continues to pay off the mortgages for fallen first responders and Gold Star families who have died in the line of duty and left behind no children. Not only that, but they are also building mortgage-free schools for catastrophically injured service members and have recently committed to eradicating homelessness amongst our veterans. We ask you to join us on our mission. Go to t2t.org and donate today.
If you want summer, now's the time to call Sonobello. Sonobello helps you target the spots that diet and exercise never could. At Sonobello, our expert surgeons remove stubborn fat permanently and tighten the skin in one visit with less downtime. With over 50,000
very good lunch, huh?
Sonobello is America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. I love that
Enjoy with Bill ha.
Let's make it easy to get started today. Call now for your free personalized consultation.
Florida White House Chief of Staff, a former member of Congress from North Carolina, Mark Bellis, joins me now.
Bill explain for me á, then I know more. Cái like after school nó thing like this, like a children they graduated thing, and then they're selling the house for sale a lot. See lots of house for sale.
What are the prices like? What are the prices like, you know?
They're still up.
Still up?
Like the lady our neighbor next to us also have for sale.
Straight across
Backside of us.
back side of that. So
Sorry.
Whether
the one on the corner of the next row. It has that layered back.
screened in deck.
Yeah. It's for sale. But that one across the street from it, or down a little bit, it's for sale. There's two up on Creston Hill, that next row, and one down on Astoria.
After children graduated from high school and they get into university, and then they put the house for sale, and then they move with the children where the university located there.
Or if they're moving, don't want to move the kids in the middle of a school year.
Which is so when getting university, the children can become mature, huh?
Yeah.
And independent themselves, huh? And the type parents said, now you have a strong wing, you can fly whatever you want to.
So they can downgrade.
But then after that, they said, Dad, mom, Dad, I need the money, this, like that, huh? I need the car, this, I need the thing like that.
They've already asked for the car.
High
school.
Like our neighbor now.
Yeah.
The boy have a car already, yeah?
He's
The
right.
wheelie, yeah? He try. And all our neighbor here, this boy now try the Palisade SUV. Yeah? He bigger size than me.
Well, it does have a consequence without a doubt, Greta, and certainly if gas prices continue to remain high, it's going to make those swing districts very difficult to actually win. And that's just being blunt and hearing what I hear as I travel across the country. But I will also say that this president has been very consistent back not only in the first term, but certainly in this term.
Well, you enjoy a little bit, huh? Then after that, I change bandage from a little bit. Then after that, I do 250 thing. 2 more. Almost done. I show Bill yet. I show you. I put a video. I just show my little boy last time. You see the 250, yeah? The number 250. I put the plastic thing. Anyway, when I'm done,
Exactly 24 hours ago, there was a cabinet meeting scheduled for Camp David. But then about 20 minutes later, because of weather and other concerns, it was changed to the White House. But even to have it at Camp David, is that just a change of venue, or I'm just sort of curious why you would even have thought of Camp David, bringing everybody 60 miles off the road.
Well, when you meet at Camp David, it's very, very different. People think of Camp David as this unbelievable place that you go to. It is unbelievable, but it is more like a camp than the White House. And yet, a lot of times what he will do is actually try to have that change of a venue where everybody brings what they're working on. You have to see that in real time. So it was not just Secretary Hegseth and Secretary Rubio. You heard from Todd Blanche and the Vice President.
What do those caps say? I never saw.
They always have had some sort of form. I don't know why.
What it says on it is he's selling them probably.
What's it say on it? I can't tell what it
250,
says on it.
America 250 or something.
That was some kind of slogan, huh?
A more open dialogue that you don't have cell phones are not their first one. Let's put it that way. And so it's a relaxed atmosphere, but it is one that is all business and allows you to accomplish a whole lot that you couldn't do at the White House.
Mark Meadows, thank you, sir. Nice to talk to you as always.
Great to be with you, Greta. Take care.
Hi, I'm Bianca Della Garza. What I
Talk mà chứ like a warning somebody.
What?
The guy say have a good night, take care, mà chứ like a warning somebody instead of really give the good wish. His voice sound like a
There doesn't exist. Children like Lexi struggle to speak or eat. Without surgery, some will die. Those who do survive face extreme challenges. Together, we can change this. Operation Smile works to heal children born with cleft conditions with volunteer medical teams in more than 30 countries worldwide. We need you. There are still millions in dire need of healing. Go to operationsmile.org today and become a monthly supporter. Help create new smiles and new futures. But act now. Children are waiting. Go online to operationsmile.org to give monthly or call 888-897-116. That's 888-897-116.
The best investment we can make is in our health.
With our office on water culture, we know we can get cleaner, healthier water.
Visit aquasun.com today.
Rain cancels plans. Bearskin heavy storm rain jacket cancels rain. Vision, back on. Hunting, back on. Oh dear. Metal detecting, that's your thing, back on. All right. The Bearskin heavy storm rain jacket comes with rainsulation technology that blocks out wet weather to keep you dry. Rain shouldn't decide your day. Get 60% off and free delivery when you go to rainjacket.tv.
If you're that old and outdated, maybe even unsafe, in just one day, Jacuzzi gives you the safety you need and the personal style you want, all at a price you love. So your bathroom can go from this to this, this to this, or even this to this. And right now, we're waiving all installation costs and offering no interest or payments for a year.
Go to jacuzzibathroom.com or call 800-384-6902.
Think you need a new roof? Think again and save thousands. We'll help you put off the high cost of a roof replacement for at least 5 years. Then,
Sometimes even 15.
we're America's most trusted roofer because we always try to save your roof rather than replace it. We'll restore your roof for a fraction of the cost of a new one. But don't wait. If your roof loses too much protective coating, it's too late. Call now or scan the code and we'll give you an assessment of your roof for free.
Do you remember her? Talking about She also accused him later of defamation. President Trump has denied both claims. After the trial, a jury awarded her $5 million in the alleged sexual abuse case and $83 million in the alleged defamation case. President Trump is appealing both of those decisions. This investigation, though, centers around Carol's 2022 deposition. She told then Trump attorney in that deposition, attorney Rosalina Halpa, no one is paying for her legal fees. However, 2 weeks ago, told the judge and the president's lawyers they got some funding from billionaire Reid Hoffman's nonprofit. Former federal prosecutor Joe Marino joined me. Nice to see you, Joe. When I first read the headlines, I said, this is a nothing story. But then I dug deeper. Reid Hoffman hates the president. That's pretty clear from what he writes. And she said under oath that she didn't get any funding. Her lawyer said she didn't know that they got funding.
No, I agree. I think at first blush, you can say, why would the Justice Department be going after someone who allegedly committed perjury in a civil deposition? It's allowed, but it's rare. But to your point, to put this in context, no doubt, people were moving heaven and earth to put tremendous legal pressure on Donald Trump in this time period, between Letitia James, between Alan Bragg, between Jack Smith, between Bonnie Willis, and then you have this civil case. And New York State changed its statute of limitation laws in 2022 expressly to allow this case to move forward. So now you have an alleged incident that happened sometime in the mid-90s, right? The plaintiff never could actually identify when it was. I think she settled on spring of 96. You have this law being used to allow this action to take place. And now we find out that there's funding that clearly the plaintiff knew about. Because bringing a lawsuit, as you know, a federal court in New York City is not an
Well, she
inexpensive.
denies knowing about it. But here's the problem: is that it happened in the deposition where she denied it, and 6 months later, is when the lawyers who were sitting in that deposition finally tell the judge, well, that we got funding, our client would be out of government, whether you believe it or not. But the lawyers, they were sort of trying to hide that themselves. They also smells bad.
Bringing a lawsuit to federal court in Manhattan against a major political figure, like at that point, the former president Donald Trump, is a big deal. It's not a few $1,000s, it's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So the idea that a plaintiff or her lawyers would either not know or downplay the fact that obviously a large influx of money came from this billionaire to allow a lawsuit to go forward, that's significant. It affects discovery, it affects witness statements, and the fact that this was left out of a case that was already pretty shaky is a big deal.
Well, and the other thing too is that this whole business about lawfare, I've never seen one person get sued or tried so much in one period of time as the president did. And a lot of these things, there's so many sketchy details about all of them that I don't even think you can look at this one. I mean, legally you look at it separately, but when you look at it sort of globally with all these other ones, all these cases going after the president, and if you've got this guy, this billionaire who hates the president, funding a case, not getting paid, but funding a case to go after the president with some facts that, I mean, the jury believed it, but I find it hard to think that Donald Trump can walk into the lingerie department in Bergdorf Goodman in the middle of the day in New York City and nobody would notice him, and go into the dressing room, even have access to this woman.
To put it in context, right? You had federal special prosecutors trying absolutely everything he could, Jack Smith, to try Donald Trump on criminal charges before the 2024 election. You had state prosecutors in New York City and Atlanta bringing absurd cases that ultimately fell flat on their faces. You had Letitia James with this ridiculous
That was Trump. I mean, the problem is we're just so unequal.
rank hypocrisy, hyper-aggression, clearly intended to kneecap and bankrupt the Trump family and President Trump himself.
So I'll tell you what else I don't like. I don't like is that at the ultimate civil trial that the woman brought against Trump is that when the judge was informed about the fact that 6 months earlier she testified that there was no outside funding, whether she knew it or didn't know it, and her lawyers finally announced it 2 weeks before trial, is that the judge wouldn't let the cross-examination about that because bias is always relevant to the courtroom. And the idea that the billionaires funding the case is an important element of it.
You're going to hear a lot in the coming weeks about two elements of what the Justice Department will have to prove: willingness and materiality, right? You have to say, one, the person willingly perjured themselves. It wasn't an accident, it wasn't a minor detail, they knew they were lying. And there's no way a plaintiff doesn't get injections of millions of dollars to support litigation and didn't know about it.
One more is those lawyers are sitting at the table and they knew their client was wrong. What is their ethical obligation to correct the record at that moment? I think they should have done it right then and there. I sent them to the bar with the bar investigator, the lawyers to speak up. They knew the way those drugs are turning into almost miracle drugs. Yes, they certainly have. Researchers focused on people who are diagnosed with 7 different types of cancer. The types include breast cancer, lung cancer, and pancreatic cancer. Researchers looked at patients who started taking GLP-1 drugs after they were diagnosed with one of those 7 cancers. And the study found that 6 of the 7 cancers, patients were less likely to see their tumors grow. It's fantastic news. Board-certified OBGYN, obesity medicine physician, nutritionist, and of course, my very good friend, Dr. Jennifer Ashton joined me. Nice to see you.
You too, Greta. Listen, you described this study perfectly. You don't need to, it's pretty big and potentially exciting news.
Why are we just learning about this now, though? Because like Ozempic's been around for 25 years.
Well, listen, as you and I both know, in media, a lot of things sound like they're new when the reality is they're actually not new. So, there's been suspicion and observation that these drugs work in a variety of ways that are independent of weight loss. And one of them is on the immune system. You and I have spoken about that before. Another one is modulating cancer cells or the metastasis or spread of cancer cells. That's not new. This study and this trial and the way these researchers followed this group, and again, this was observational, so as you know, we need prospective, we really need to connect the dots on the science and the medicine here. It needs to be cause and effect. But this was just nicely constructed in terms of a study that followed a pretty big group of variety of cancer patients, and it's making headlines, but we've been following these kind of effects with this class of drugs for a while.
Well, if this class of drugs stops the progression, does it necessarily follow that maybe it will impede a recurrence?
So that would be the thought and the hope, yes, in the world of oncology and cancer. So again, they need to do randomized control trials. They need to really tease out. You mentioned 7 obesity-related cancers that were included in this study, like breast, liver, kidney, pancreas, colorectal, and non-small cell lung cancer. They're going to start to look at this deeper with those types of cancers, but with other types of cancers as well, with respect to spread, progression, death from these types of cancers, and then the holy grail, which will be prevention. And that is an area of really hot research right now.
Is there a little bit of a problem this way, is that the doctors are learning all this, and you say it's been around for a long time, but that if you were to prescribe as a doctor not for obesity, that it would be then quote off-label, and then you've got a problem there with your license, with the FDA and everybody else?
Not necessarily with the doctor's medical license or even with the FDA, because remember, we use medications that are FDA approved for one reason, off-label in this country all the time, safely, efficaciously. That's not the problem. The problem is who's going to pay for it. And when you use something off-label, then insurance companies will dig in their heels and say, we're not paying for that. That's not an indication. So that's, of course, a problem because then that gets to access. The other thing that's really an issue here is, and I'm glad that you're talking about this study and this is getting some headline and attention in the media, is, there are a lot of doctors in the trenches who may not even be familiar with these other benefits, these other studies, the new data, the old data, and that really has an immediate impact on patient care.
Well, these insurance companies pay, a bundle when you've got cancer metastasized throughout your body, or if you've got heart problems because you've been carrying around a large body for a long time. Yet they won't pay it up front. They won't pay it up front to prevent having to pay it on the back end at probably 30x.
I hope that changes. The analogy I like to give is, remember the days of the flat screen television and how expensive expensive they were at first, and now they're practically giving them away. They've come down significantly in terms of cost. We're starting to see that with this class of medication, but I think, yeah, this is going to be, an actuarial table of finance and economics, that insurance companies will only start to pay for these drugs when they realize that it is less expensive to pay for them than to
What's
treat the
happening?
complications that come along with cancer, heart disease, obesity, and even in terms of prevention. So, it's something that we're going to be watching.
Well, if people watch the show know that I confess that I struggled with high school chemistry and quickly moved out of science with that. So in light of that, let me ask you a question. It really puts me out on the limb. As I understand that these are anti-inflammatory, some of them, am I right? Anti-inflammatory? Okay. And as I understand it, arthritis is an inflammatory response, right?
Correct.
So why wouldn't these be good for arthritis that hurt, so many people, older generation